Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasures.
Oh yes, Guilty Movie Pleasure fans, we are back with another super weird-ass episode out of quarantine. The biggest change since last week is I completely gave up on the competition. Jesse and I, we had an unspoken competition about growing a beard and seeing how long we could make it grow. And Jesse...
Undisputed winner.
Yeah, I mean, undisputed. I've never, in the 38 years of my existence, tried out a mustache. So what I'd like fans to tell me is, what do you think of it? Does it look hipster? Does it look...
I don't think you need fans to tell you what they think of it. I think you know what people think of it.
No, because it's been 50-50. Like, my wife kind of likes it. But I also don't know if I look like if Littlefinger from Game of Thrones went and time traveled to the 80s. Like, that's kind of how I feel right now. Or I don't know if I could maybe cosplay as Jack from This Is Us. You know? That's my son. All right, I love my son.
So comment down below, guys. What do you think of Ben Begley's mustache?
Now, moving on. Hey, I'm your host, Ben Begley, if you didn't know that. And with me, as always, is my co-host.
Jesse McIntosh.
Yes. Sorry, I'm going a little insane here in this quarantine. How are you guys holding up? Jesse, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Other than the torture I'm putting myself through with this horrendous beard, because I thought we were doing something, you and me.
Well, now you can shave it.
No. I'm not going to do it simply because it's going to seem like I did it only because you did it.
Well, you can wait 2 weeks.
I need a buffer. But yeah, so a little uncomfortable, but I'm also, what I was telling Ryan before we started the show, I've been in a different position for every single show we've done in quarantine.
You have, and I've been in the same.
And you've been in the same, and I'm now on a couch. So I've done the past couple on the floor, just to take you behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a much more comfortable position on the couch with a little bit more discomfort on my face. So that's the full story of my life right now.
Last thing I'll mention on beards. One of the two of the reasons I shaved it, it's hot as balls in the valley, and it was driving me insane. Second thing, when I go to the store, my mask was pushing up from my face a little bit because the beard was shoving it away, and so it was a safety hazard. And now
can I tell you something?
This is a fashion hazard.
This is something that I've never experienced before. I'm sure other people have. But this is the longest my mustache has ever been.
Where it tickles you.
It is creeping over my lip and into my mouth, and I have to constantly make a determination: is that a hair that is an external hair that has made its way into my body, or is that one of my mustache hairs?
And you often have
but it's the choice that I myself made. So
this entire episode, Ryan, is going to be talking about facial hair, just so we can alienate you since you can't grow any. Oh!
You know,
got him.
One could say that I extracted my facial hair.
Yes, good segue. Speaking of things other than our mustaches, we're going to talk about what we're here to talk about, which is the new Netflix movie with Chris Hemsworth, starring Chris Hemsworth, written by Joe Russo, produced by Anthony and Joe Russo, and directed by the stunt man for the two Avengers movies.
Two of the Avengers movies.
Yeah, Endgame and Infinity War.
Oh yeah, but there's 4 Avengers movies. That's all.
No. I know he was the stuntman for Endgame and Infinity War. He may have been for all the Russo brothers. I gotta look that up.
Brilliant.
But oh shit! I just want to get right into this. Let's just say our thoughts. We all three watched it, right?
Yes.
Okay, who wants to go first? Somebody else go first, other than me. Jesse, you go first.
Go, Jesse.
Initial thoughts
is really, really, really fun. This is it's just like nonstop. I'm sure that we'll talk about the oneer that's right in the middle of it, the car chase scene that's meant to look like it's all one shot.
Oh god, it's so good.
Is actually the only thing that I knew about this movie going in, and it didn't disappoint at all.
Had you seen a trailer or anything?
I had not. I've actively avoided.
Same
but yeah, this movie just goes and goes and goes, and it's it all takes place over the course of 2 days,
there's like a 30-minute shootout in the end of the movie that's just insane.
Yeah. There's nothing complicated about the plot mechanics. The twists in it I didn't find to be that revolutionary, but it was almost like a full aside to just the action, the visuals, and just the propulsion of what was going on. I pulled sound clips and I let you guys know afterwards. There's barely anything to pull because it's basically either subtitled or a 30-minute gunfight with no dialogue, which is like, it's kind of atypical. Like even the movies you guys are talking about, in the middle of the fights, there's usually some like snarky like back and forth or one-liners.
Yeah.
And there is absolutely none of that in this movie. There's just like, we're fighting and now we're fighting and everyone can shut the hell up because we're fighting. Yeah.
It's a lot. Like, this is a full-blown adrenaline rush of an action movie. You don't see a lot of these, I think, nowadays. The closest thing that I think comes to this is maybe John Wick in terms of the speed of the action. But I think what's a fine difference between these two, John Wick and Extraction, is that John Wick's, it's a lot more like pristine and clean, and the action almost, it feels just naturally surprising because you're in these like unique environments. What was kind of crazy about this one is it felt like a war movie, but it's one guy extracting someone, and the oneer in the middle of this is the big thing. I mean, that funny enough, I was watching the oneer while you tweeted something about it, Ben. So I was like, oh my gosh, like you're watching it right now. And that was my biggest takeaway because you could see some of the cuts, but it was just so impressive. In we're seeing so many one long takes nowadays, but in an action movie where it's just that much going on screen, it's so entertaining.
Yeah, I thought that this movie, all I saw, because my buddy told me about it a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't even heard about it. And my buddy, he and I are big movie nerds, he was like, yo, check out the trailer for Extraction. And I watched the first 15 seconds of it, which shows his first beatdown in the apartment building where he like kicks a dude and the guy's head slams against the brick wall and then cracks on the bottom. And I literally shut it off and went, sold. I don't need to know anything else. And I'm finding more and more that going in blind to these movies, like even though the twists weren't revolutionary necessarily, because I didn't even know what the movie was about. I didn't know if the entire thing was going to be about extracting this kid. I didn't know if the entire thing I didn't know what the plot was going to be. It was still surprising enough, if that makes sense, where like you could see certain things coming, but since it hadn't been all spelled out for me in the trailer, I was like, cool. I will say that it's the first time in a while, because usually when I see action scenes, like John Wick is one of my favorite series out there, and the Raid and Raid 2. I love this trend that we're going to in American action cinema, that Hong Kong action cinema has been killing it at, and Thai cinema like the Raid, for years, which is the long takes, the wide shots, showing us what's going on and not all the cut. And I think it's two things. I think it's one, they're letting more stunt coordinators direct. And that's how the John Wick guys, they were all Keanu Reeves stuntmen for years.
Great point, yeah.
And I think the second thing is they're getting actors who really know how to fight. So it's not covering up people or having to cover a double and cut around the wig or whatever. Because it's clearly and almost always Chris Hemsworth beating ass in this movie. And I didn't think that Thor could be more badass than Thor, but Tyler Rake is so dope. Like, it's insane what he does in this movie.
He's great in it too. Like,
he's great. He's got some solid emotional stuff too that really hit me. Anything with fathers and kids and like losing a kid, get me out of here. I'm tapping out. I can't handle it. And that's a mild spoiler, but you kind of get the hint of that early on, that something happened to his kid. I won't say what.
It's also
it's not even.
It's literally the least important part of the movie.
Yeah. I would say that it also was one of the first action films in a while where I genuinely felt the stakes of it. Even though he's kind of a Superman character like John Wick, he's a little bit more, I don't want to say vulnerable, because it's not like he's not stoppable, but it's not like he's like weak, but it's definitely, I felt more like he could get hurt or somebody around him could die at any minute. And so I'm sitting here as each thing piles on and more people are coming after him. I'm like, oh shit. So it was really more intense than most action movies. A lot of action movies are more just like fun and like, hey, that's cool. Like, I never worry John Wick's going to die. And this, I was like, oh God, he's completely effed.
This
like,
was
how is he
so
going to get out of
dope.
this?
Yeah. I mean, just one of the best
insane.
setups. Oh my God.
And they set it up immediately. And then they're like, all right, here's first beatdown. And I would say like every 20 minutes, there's another badass, insane action sequence. It's only, the weird thing is it says it's 2 hours long. There's 14 minutes of end credits. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I rewound it to make sure. I was like, why are there 14 minutes of end credits on here?
But Ben, the end credits, the end credits fought each other, and it was
that's why it was a gun battle.
Like, yeah, it was a pretty intense action sequence.
I couldn't be more happy about this because it combines all the things I love about all like classic 80s and 90s action movies, but grounds it in a brutal, violent reality that seems more plausible than John Wick, even though John Wick I love. John Wick, I think what you were saying, Ryan, is that John Wick is a little bit more pulpy and kind of comic booky in its violence, like killing people with horses and stuff.
Right.
This, like you said, it felt like Black Hawk Down meets The Raid Redemption is kind of what it felt like.
Yeah,
I can't say enough about how much I love this movie.
This is, I think, Chris Hemsworth's Taken. Like, this is a big... Yeah. Wow. Not only can he lead, and we knew he could lead movies from Thor and everything, but they had the franchise behind you. You have the comic book elements going in. You're a little bit more forgivable. I feel like for this is all him and the stunts and the action, and that's really all you need. It's simple but so effective.
You know, one of my favorite sequences that's a more minor action sequence is when the kids attack him in the alley. I thought that sequence was so funny. It's so funny how he handled. We'll get to that, but just for people watching, there's not really much to spoil in this movie because it's just the basic plot is he goes in to extract this kid, and then the shit hits the fan, and action, and of course the third act will be a spoiler, but we'll warn you before that. But if you're really adamant to not get any spoilers, then I would just turn off now, go watch it. It's on Netflix, and come back. That's what I would do. But my biggest problem, my biggest issue is, this is my one gripe. I wish this had come out theatrically. And I know we're in the middle of a pandemic and all that, but I would have loved to have seen this in IMAX or Dolby on the big screen. So that would have been.
I have a question about that. Like, do you think this movie would be it's the number one on Netflix right now? Obviously, it's only been out a few days. Do you think this would have done as well in theaters? Where, I mean, we're never going to know, but we would have had a Black Widow in theaters. We would have had the new James Bond. I think this would have got lost in the shuffle.
It would have had to come out a different time. I think if it came out in like if this came out as a January release, like they did with Bad Boys for Life, I think it could have been a runaway, like something that surprised people. Because January this year, I feel like finally they started releasing decent action flicks, and people started flocking to them because it wasn't garbage, because January is usually the toilet bowl for the
I feel like this would have gained momentum. Like,
I think so. I think word of mouth
definitely. Like you already have Thor in it. You already have like gritty action, which sells. And then just people coming out of the theater and being like, you have to see these fight sequences. You have to see this chase scene. I think that would have driven people to the theater. And it's like you were saying, Ben, it's one of those movies where it probably is better in that experience. And so it's not going to be something where people would be like, I'll just wait for it to come out on Netflix. Like, it was great on Netflix, but this would have been an amazing movie to see in the movie theater. I think it would have crushed.
It's kind of like how 1917, I know that was a big awards movie and completely different, but I'm going at it more from the one-er shot, how the whole movie is like a one-take thing. That was a big thing that drew people to theaters to see that. I think having that one-er in the middle of this would have been something people would have been talking about. And already everything I've seen on Twitter is positive about this. I haven't seen the only negative reviews. I haven't really looked at the critics because I don't care at the moment, but I've heard that critics are a little saying it's too violent, and I'm like, I mean, it's an action movie. What do you expect? It's super violent, but I don't know. It didn't bother me. That didn't bother me one bit.
That's sort of a weird criticism to say about a violent movie, that it was too violent. Like, it's
part
of the point of what they're doing. There's not like a ton of blood and gut. It's not like you see someone's organs popping out of their body, or
it's not gory. It's just. No, I would compare it to John Wick in violence.
I think I mean, we could probably get into this a little later after like we break down the plot, but like there's some child violence, I think, is what they might be referring to. Like
Maybe.
there's some pretty crazy child violence.
Oh yeah, that stuff's that stuff's nuts.
You're like 3 minutes in, bullet to the head of one kid. Someone gets thrown off a rooftop.
But they don't show that. They don't show him fall. You know,
true.
and it's whenever it's a kid in harm's way, it's more insinuated off screen. Like even the kid that cuts off his own finger. That happens off screen and he brings it in. It's not like, so they never relish in like the gore of it. It's more just quick, like brutal. And maybe that's why people respond to it that way, is because it's so fast and so brutal. But I would even venture to say John Wick's more violent than this.
Yeah.
Comparable.
I definitely agree. It's always weird with the rating system. I think, you know, you could have a movie like this and it's PG-13, but then you have like 2 F words and it's R versus.
Yeah. Well, this is. Sorry to interrupt.
Go for it. Yeah.
It's sort of like exactly what Josh was saying last week about how the MPAA was on him about the Saw movie.
Yeah.
And how like brutal that violence was versus the sort of like tongue-in-cheek violence of Piranha. Like you might be right that it's the violence against the kids that sort of put people over the edge.
Or that John Wick is more stylized so people accept it because it's in a little bit more of a fictional world. This is very based in a more realistic drug cartel setting.
Yeah.
Should we do the plot in under 3 minutes? Which means we're going to spoil some stuff, people. So spoiler alert. If you haven't already turned off because my mustache is freaking you out, let's do this.
Audio only. Audio only.
All right, starting the plot in under 3 minutes. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we're introduced to this kid who's the son of a drug lord, and he's kidnapped, and his friend is shot. And then we're introduced to Chris Hemsworth, who's an alcoholic and on Oxycodone or cotton, and has a troubled past. This woman comes and says, "Hey, we need you to go extract this kid. $10 million for the job." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Like, not even any hesitation. And she's like, I think you're just hoping you'll get killed on one of these missions to end it all. Anyways, they go meet the team. They go try and extract the kid. And Jesse, take it over.
So he goes in as basically like, I'm going to get you the money. I'm going to pay the ransom.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes in and he sort of scouts it all out. And then on his way out, he kills the guys who are bringing him out. He goes back. He kills all the people that are holding the kid. And he takes the kid and they start going. And then
there's a key moment. There's a key moment where they have a gun to his face, pull the trigger, and he doesn't even blink.
He doesn't even blink,
because there's no magazine in it.
There's no magazine in that.
Supposedly, he knew that. Yeah. And then there's the other guy who hired Chris Hemsworth, who is the second in command of the kid's father. So the kid's father, who's the drug lord, who told his second in command to go rescue his son, hired Chris Hemsworth, and then he comes in. Because the whole thing, it's kind of glossed over in the beginning. In my mind, I now looking back, I'm like, they set that up well. They set up that he doesn't have any money, that his funds are frozen. So this guy lied to Chris Hemsworth and them and said he had the money to then have the team get him out, and then he was going to swoop in, kill the team, and take the kid because his boss threatened to kill his family if he didn't get his son back. So it's nuts.
And
so
the wife's
this
like,
guy,
whatever it takes.
Yeah. I mean, just like Avengers Endgame, whatever it takes. So then there's this insane 12-minute action sequence chase scene with him and the other dude trying to chase after and get the kid from Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Hemsworth saving the kid. And it goes on forever in the best way possible. And then he gets away. They call a friend. It's David Harbour. And David Harbour gives him a safe haven for a little bit. And then David Harbour turns on him and says, "Hey, we'll put a bullet in the kid's head. We'll get money." They threaten my family too. They throw down. The kid ends up shooting David Harbour. And then Jesse, bring us home.
So meanwhile, the other drug lord who was like who had kidnapped this kid is trying to get him back. And so there are all those kids up on the top of the roof, and they throw one over. And then the other kid's like, "He's the one that was stealing from you. I'm the guy you should give the gun to." The kids try and attack them in the alley. Chris Hemsworth just gets rid of the kids.
It's awesome.
And then they get word that a helicopter's coming, and so he calls the second in command, and he's like, I need you right now. We'll split this. Here are guns. And then the guy starts bringing
15 seconds
the kid to the bridge.
Well, Chris Hemsworth distracts him in the building, and then they all end up on the bridge.
9.
And there's a massive shootout, and then stuff happens that I don't want to spoil just yet because we're too early in the show.
2,
so I'm not going to spoil the ending just yet. I don't want to spoil the ending just yet, in case people are still listening. Because the ending's
America.
great. The ending's great, in my opinion.
You did give a big like spoiler warning.
I know, but it's the mustache. It has a mind of its own. It has a mind of its own.
It's the stash.
Let's get into this, man. So there's basically like 4 major action sequences in the movie, and I love how this movie reminded me a little bit. I forgot to say in the beginning of like. I know I said the Raid Redemption and John Wick in its style of action, but a little bit of Man on Fire too. I don't know if you felt that.
Yeah,
a little bit,
bit.
Except that the one thing I would say that Man on Fire succeeds at better than this is, Man on Fire is incredible, by the way. But the one thing it really exceeds at better than this is establishing the relationship between Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning. So that when she's kidnapped and he goes after her, there is such a personal reason for him, like shoving a bomb up a dude's butt and blowing him up and like all the crazy stuff he does. The one thing missing from this movie is I felt a personal connection to Chris Hemsworth and his story. I didn't feel a personal connection to the kid and why Chris Hemsworth is so adamant to protect him, except for the fact that he's a kid. And that Chris Hemsworth had a son that he lost. I get that, but also I felt like there was enough. There's that one moment in the bed in like the scene before he goes to bed where they have a heart to heart, and it's really, in my opinion, a really emotionally impactful scene. So that was kind of enough for me. It's a minor gripe though, gripe.
So I think the problem. And you hit it dead on the head because Man on Fire is one of my favorite movies.
It's incredible.
It's because of that relationship between Denzel and Dakota Fanning. It really like fuels the whole movie. But I think the reason that you weren't really able to connect with this kid is because he was never like genuinely in danger, because they were not trying to kill him. They were trying to kidnap him for ransom.
Yeah. And
so all of the action sequences are sort of done with him on the periphery, almost on the exterior of all the danger. So he was sort of insulated from all that, and so it makes it harder to worry about him, because obviously like there is danger there is like, it's in a sense life or death, because they're sort of taking his innocence away, but more immediately we're worried about Chris Hemsworth the whole way, and not so much the kid.
And that being said, that's a minor gripe for one of my new favorite action films. But I love that I just think I could have used a little more setup. That's it. But the first scene with Chris Hemsworth drinking on a cliff,
oh my god,
and then just casually getting up and jumping off a 300-yard cliff or whatever it was, is awesome. Like that's how you set up a character with no need for exposition, just with action, was showing, hey, this sums up so much of the person, like.
And then he was just sitting on the bottom of the,
oh my gosh,
whatever, the lake, just with
meditating.
His legs crossed. It was like the second week in a row where I've just been like, can you go up for some air, please? Like, get out of that water, man.
You're always so concerned for people in there.
I always hold my breath.
God, you have.
You know what? Then
a limited air supply.
You guys,
not even panic out of him.
Total side note: I watched Underwater with Kristen Stewart last week, and dude, it's so good.
Yeah?
But I'm afraid of drowning, and I'm super claustrophobic, and so that movie nails that fear so much. But anyways, we'll talk about that a different time.
Wow.
But this, so they set up Chris Hemsworth great, and then his handler comes, and she's badass, by the way, too. Like, she gets to do, she has a rocket launcher at the end and snipes that dude.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I could have used more of her too. Like, I feel like Bloodshot a little bit, where I'm like, oh, I wish she would have gotten, but she got those 2 sweet moments in the end, and the whole thing happens almost in, not real time, because it's 2 days. We're not watching a 48-hour movie, but it's a very compressed timeline. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the setup with Chris Hemsworth, and just immediately like, hey, do you want to do this? And usually that's the call to action where the hero refuses it and is like, no, I'm out of the game. But he's just like, no, I'm good. Yeah, I'll do it. And so there's no waiting. It's awesome.
What was so funny to me is she was like, we have 36 hours to complete this mission. I will see you tomorrow morning. It's like, whoa, why?
Wait.
Like, you're giving him a whole night? Like,
hurry up.
wiping out 33% of this.
Yeah, man, we got to
time
jump
frame.
to this.
Just let's get on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they establish a crew pretty quickly of relative badass tough guys, and those guys get dispatched pretty swiftly.
And he asks about the crew, and they're like, dead. He goes, damn. Like, he doesn't really...
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if they had worked prior or if that's just the name of the game.
I think it is. I think it just is one of those things where it's like you sign up for this life, and it's like, oh, well, it's about to happen one of these days. But so he goes in, and the first action sequence, I don't even know what sound clips you grabbed, Jesse. So tell me if we're at any of them so I know. Because I don't have them in front of me.
Chicken.
But
the first one is when the handler comes in.
Yes.
And this is the first thing she says to Chris Hemsworth.
Chicken in your bathroom.
Yeah, I like chickens.
There's a chicken in your bathroom. I like chickens. Yep. I like it. I like that
He's
one
a
a lot.
pretty easygoing dude.
You know, some of you may not know this, but I used to live on a farm back in Ohio, and our entire bathroom was decorated in chickens. And when we moved to LA, I actually put up some chicken wallpaper in my first apartment bathroom. And when Renee and I first started dating, she walked in and she looked at the bathroom and went,
in your bathroom.
Yeah, I like chickens.
Yeah. And she said, well, if this is going to continue, you need to change that hideous wallpaper. And I did.
That's really a feel-good story. I threw, like, a couple years ago now, I threw this big raging party.
Yeah.
And so one of my buddies brought over just a bucket of KFC, and we had it in the kitchen. We were sort of divvying it out, and this like super drunk person who I didn't even know just wandered into the kitchen and said this.
Yeah, I like chickens.
And I was like, listen, this is not the bathroom. This is the kitchen.
Oh God, I hope you got him out of there before it got to be a not so feel good story.
That's to save face. That is the end of my story.
There's a chicken in your bathroom. So he goes with the team over there. He goes to negotiate with the kidnappers. They show proof of life. Dude, like Ryan said, puts the gun to his head, pulls the trigger, not even a flinch. And then he proceeds to kill like 12 dudes in one room.
But he does, and I do think this is an important part of both like building up the group of people who he's going against and also building himself up. He doesn't flinch, but I think importantly he does say there was no magazine in that gun.
Yeah.
And like, so he is observant, but also they're like a little bit amateur.
Yeah.
Like, they're not really used to this sort of
so it's not just that he has a death wish, it's that he's also smart and he has that Jason Bourne kind of observational background to his, because I think he's like an ex-ranger or something that I forget they say, but I can't remember. Say your name is when he rescues him. So this sequence, it reminded me of some of the stunts in The Raid because of the brutality of it, like where he's, like I said, he kicks a dude and the guy's head hits a brick and it slams into the ground. Is this the sequence, or later on, at one point, there's so much badassery that I can't even remember it all. At one point, he lifts a dude up and swings him into another guy's head and it snaps that guy's neck. That sequence was awesome. I think that's later.
I think it's later.
This one, he like slides the table across the room.
And crushes
the table hits. Yeah.
Dude, what about the pitchfork? The pitchfork's also in this scene.
So he hits a dude. So he takes like a rake, ironically, or like a pitchfork. I guess it's like a metal rake.
It's a rake.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler Rake uses a rake, and he smashes it over a dude's back, and it breaks. And then he shoves the shard of the stick into the dude's neck, and is like digging it in as he's bleeding out. Then another guy, he holds over the rake, and this is a part where they cut away from the violence. Like, I'm sitting there like, oh, no, because it's going towards his eye, and I have a thing with eyes. It freaks me out when I see him get stabbed. So you have a thing with vomiting, Jesse? I don't like seeing eyeballs get... I'll still watch. Renee will be like, the second she thinks an eyeball is going to get hurt, Renee's like, nope. Me, I'll be like, oh, it's going to happen, and I have to watch.
Yeah.
But then they cut away from it, and you just hear that...
I think it's important to restate what Ben just said, that
Yeah.
I don't like watching people vomit on screen, and
Yeah.
Ben doesn't like watching people get stabbed in the eye.
Yeah.
And
I feel like
don't
those are on different levels.
And I don't like needles. So the only time I looked away in this was, I think, up top where he's just, or it was at night when he was recovering and he was putting something in his arm. I'm terrible with that.
That's so funny that is the thing where Ryan's like tapping out. I feel like I have the highest threshold then. Here.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
That's pretty far down the road.
I will tell you, I gagged during Brightburn. There's a part where she gets a shard of glass in her eye and she pulls it out in slow-mo, like she pulls it out slowly. And I was like, I was in the theater like, but I couldn't stop watching. I'm a glutton for punishment. So he beats the shit out of all these guys. There's no even way to explain it because it's so good. And then at the end of this scene, isn't this our first taste of, there's like a kid holding a gun up to him. Yeah.
And he goes
like,
and just takes the gun and says, "Get out of here."
Yeah, yeah. So that's his save the cat moment, if you want to go by screenwriting terms, where like he's not to be douchey about it, but that's like showing he has a side where he has a line that he won't cross, you know.
He has a line he won't cross, and it also shows like how integrated the kids are in the violence of this region. Yeah.
Because they even say that this guy's like the Pablo Escobar of Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
Dakar. Is he in Dakar or Bangladesh? I know it takes place in Dakar.
I think Dakar is in Bangladesh.
Oh, yes, that's right. Not Drakkar Noir, which my uncle used to wear, and it was very strong. Anyways, Drakkar Noir. For people who can't afford expensive cologne but want to smell like they're using expensive cologne.
There's a different twist on it with that mustache, man.
It is Drakkar Noir. And if I mention my uncle with this mustache, you just assume there's a creepy story involved, and there's not. He's actually a very awesome dude. Anyways, now that I've sidetracked completely, he rescues the kid. He goes outside, and he's walking forward, and he gets hit, and does he get hit by a car at that point? No. He goes to the extraction point, and there's a dude that has taken out his two guys, snipes the sniper, and then is after him. And there's a chase sequence where he's running from him. There's a
they get in the car.
This is the car sequence where it's a 12-minute chase scene, and the camera seamlessly goes into the car with the actors, and then comes back out, goes with the drivers that are chasing him. It's like, I don't even want to ruin it by trying to explain all 12 minutes of it, but it goes from on foot to in car to a massive car chase throughout Bangladesh. Then it goes back to on foot. It goes through a building. Huge beatdowns happen, massive gunfights, massive fist fights, and kicking and throwing each other off balconies, and ends with the dude. So the
they each
father
get hit by a car. Yeah,
they each get hit. So Chris Hemsworth gets hit by a car. He gets up, and then he's helping the kid out. And then the final thing is the handle. What would you call him? The second in command.
The second in command. Yeah.
Second in command for the kid's dad grabs the kid and is going forward. And Chris Hemsworth hits him with a van, and it in one shot launches the dude seamlessly into another like little like shop cart or something, and it's insane. It all looks so real and so seamless, and I'm sure there's CGI to make it look fluid, but it's very hard to spot. There's moments where like it goes behind a back or something, and you're like, oh, that's where they cut. But holy hell, I love this trend towards one take action sequences because they're so much easier to see, and you're stuck in the immediacy of it because you're like, you can't escape, just like the character.
And it's so memorable too. Yeah. Sorry, Jesse.
No, not at all. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's so memorable too. For example, we just basically broke down that action sequence, whereas, and I love John Wick, and I think a lot of the John Wick films are better than this one, but I can't break down beat by beat a lot of those action scenes, especially in the third one where it was getting really repetitive. That one had such a variety, where you're on foot, you're in a car chase, there's hand-to-hand, there's people getting hit by cars. There was such a variety of the action. You can digest it all, and it was so well spaced out.
I will agree with everything except what you said about John Wick 3, because I think it's a near perfect action film. And I think that movie is it has a ton of variety. But I agree with everything you said about this movie, though. I'm a diehard John Wick fan. I will watch those so much. I know what you're saying within the same... Sorry, just to not completely negate Ryan's point. I think John Wick has a variation of action scenes separately, but I think what you're saying, Ryan, is this one within this one sequence has a variation within one sequence in the movie instead of like a horse chase here, a gunfight here, a car chase here. You know what I mean? It's like within one set piece, you're getting to see a whole roller coaster.
It's almost like I think this movie, the whole first half of this movie was leading up to that sequence. Like it really was tailored for that sequence. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff it's great beforehand and after, but that is the moment. Like that is really the action climax of this film. And I think that it made it really memorable. Like that I'm not going to forget that sequence for a while.
It reminds me of, in a similar way, when we watched Six Underground, how it starts off with that bonkers car chase, and then they didn't. But the difference is Six Underground never really topped that sequence. And although I wouldn't say that the end battle tops the sheer technical aspect of this one, I think emotionally the end battle is much more grounded in this, in the end of Extraction, when he and the dude are desperately trying to get the kid out, because at that point I think they were willing to kill the kid in that final battle. And so I think that's when the stakes were huge, because it's like they're all three potentially going to die. What's the next? So when he's about to, before the extraction and all this craziness we just talked about, there's Say Your Name, which is Chris Hemsworth getting the proof of life and sending it to his client.
9. Say your name, man. Say your bloody name. Come on.
You know, my first audition that I ever had for a TV show, I was a little nervous, and I kind of just forgot what to do, and the casting director was just staring at me, and I just was like staring like this, and he kept saying,
"Say your bloody name, come on."
And then finally I just said, I probably shouldn't be doing this, and I left.
Well, you know, there's a famous story about Destiny's Child and how they were coming up with a song, and Beyonce was like, I just have to go to the store real quick, and they're like, all right, we'll just keep writing. So she left and she came back, and they were like super excited to show her what they had, and this is what they played for her.
Your name, come on. Your name, come on.
And she was
Say your name, come on.
All right, that's a start.
That's a start, but maybe what if we say my name? And they went, Queen Bee, that's why you're the queen. Classic. I love it. So we only have 10 minutes left, so I do want to talk about the other two major action sequences. There's the scene I talked about with the kids where they corner him in an alley before he goes to his friend, I think, or after. I can't remember exactly where the placement is. But the kids that are working for the main gangster corner him, and it's such a funny but still kind of brutal sequence where he slaps the shit out of these kids. Like the main kid, he's like slapping him in the face and chucking him over, and it's just like a headmaster at like a school before the 80s when they were allowed to beat the hell out of kids. And that's what it feels like. He's just like, get out of here, kids. Like, what are you doing? And even at the end of it, I think he says something super funny, like, God damn it, or something like that, where it's just like, he can't believe that he just had to smack around a bunch of like 13 and under kids with assault rifles and AK-47s. But that sequence, it still has some great stunt work where it looks like, I don't know how they found stuntmen that are that size, but it looks like he's beating the shit out of kids, and not in a brutal way, but in like a deflect, flip him over, chuck him on the ground. He does slam the one kid into the glass window of the car. So that was a little ouchy for him, you know? And then there's the David Harbour scene, which I think your other two sound clips are from, right? Jesse, Leave the Kid Behind.
So Leave the Kid Behind, I think, is actually before that.
It's his handler, right?
When he's talking to his handler, and his handler's like, the money didn't come through. We need to get you out. Mm-hmm. There's no money if you get the kid anyway. So you just come out. So this is her not fully explaining that, but this is a clip of that.
You gotta leave the kid behind, Tyler.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, that was it? Oh, sorry.
Just leave the kid behind, Tyler.
Yeah.
Just leave him. And he says, nope, I can't do it. I can't do it. And that's where I think if we got a hint that the kid reminded him of his son or something like that, that decision Whereas right now as a viewer, I can be like, that's admirable. I like that. But I don't fully get why, other than it's just he's a kid, you know?
Right.
Because we don't learn enough about the kid. He's just like nerdy with women, and his friends are teasing him about talking to some girl, and then his best friend gets shot in the head in front of him. And then they never mention that kid again, by the way. That poor kid, the poor kid in the beginning of the movie, he was just a friend smoking a joint with him that gets shot in the face. That's the greatest anti-drug commercial ever, where it's like, don't smoke weed in India because the cops will come and shoot you in the face and then kidnap your friend. It's like
in the face.
In the face. It's it's an anti-drug commercial. Is it weird every time I come to the camera and go like this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. It's unsettling. It's unsettling. So then there's a scene with David Harbour where he helps him out, we think, and he gives him safe haven. And he goes and he comes back, and they have a scene of camaraderie where we get a little bit of hint of his backstory and a little bit of hint of both they fought in Afghanistan together, I believe. And let's play clip number 4. This is David Harbour talking about how everybody's after him.
A very popular individual.
David Harbour is so good in this.
He's very good.
He barely gets anything to do, but he brings so much to it that you get the character's backstory and you get their relationship from his acting and from how they play off of each other. And just their fight scene is so brutal and kind of gut-wrenching, because you can tell they're both coming at it from what they think is the right decision, where David Harbour wants to kill the kid just so his family's safe, and so his own family's safe, and so Chris Hemsworth doesn't get killed.
And his name's
Chris Hemsworth,
Jasper, right?
Yeah.
Jasper.
Yep.
So I do want to say also, because like they do something surprising with this relationship that you don't see a ton in action movies, where like the fatal flaw we're meant to believe of Chris Hemsworth is that he is drug addicted and an alcoholic and is depressed and is using that to cope. And typically in movies, you see the person who swoops in and saves our hero is the antithesis of that, right? They're like clean and they're like, put that bottle away, put those drugs away. And in this one, he's just like, he's been through the shit also.
Yeah.
And it's just like, let me get some of those pills.
2 of those will do
tonight. Yeah. And I thought that was a really interesting and like not remarked upon sort of like coloring of the relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Where it's like, look, the alcoholism is the least of his worries.
Yeah.
This isn't the way back, that's not his issue, which I still haven't seen. But then he and David Harbour throw down, and the history between them comes out in the action, just like a lot of the character development in John Wick comes out in the action. And then the kid shoots David Harbour, and it's a super sad moment where you just watch David Harbour slip away as he's breathing in his own blood, and the kid's crying and Chris Hemsworth's upset. So it's like there's a tragedy to this lifestyle that this movie, I think, really shows well, in not a cheesy or unearned way. I think they earn these moments really well in this movie. And then it builds to, hey, we're going to extract him at this bridge. I need to team up with this guy who was trying to kill me in the beginning, which I did not see coming. For some reason, my brain, maybe because I was just like not trying to guess ahead, I didn't see him teaming up with the other dude from the beginning that was trying to kill him. And once that happened, I was like, here we go. This third act is going to rock.
That dude shows up having not washed his face. And he is just, that guy is like bleeding out of every single orifice and just like paper cuts everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's just like, this is how I look now.
Yeah, this is me.
He's you even get that Terminator mirror scene where he's just like staring. You're like, oh, he's about to wash. He's about to wash himself.
He doesn't. He's just like acknowledging.
Now
everyone
cracks his own note. This is how it's staying.
Yeah.
This is how it's staying. And we only have a few minutes left. And I honestly just think you need to see the final action sequence. Us explaining it will only spoil it. But the basic premise is that Chris Hemsworth is going to distract the local police by sniping from a window, and he shoots this grenade launcher to blow up a bunch of cars. And while the the second in command and the son try to escape over the bridge because all the bridges are blocked. This Pablo Escobar pulled 21 bridges and closed off every bridge in the city. Hey, another Agbo. Agbo is the company that Anthony Russo and Joe Russo started. So they close everything down. There's a blockade. They start to get past the bridge. Somebody notices him, and he shoots all 4 of those cops. It starts a shootout so there's a simultaneous shootout going on the bridge and on the streets, and eventually they combine, and it's almost like 30 minutes. It's like at least 20 minutes long. It's so good.
And we saw a preview of it at the beginning of the movie. Remember? They opened the movie with that, and you're like, oh, this is the part where they showed us, and it's connecting.
Yeah, where Chris Hemsworth is like bleeding out and checking his mag. And I'm even torn to say what happens. What do you guys think? Do you want to say what happens? You guys decide.
We can. It's just the very, very last moment. I think that we can leave it up to people watching it. But I did just want to say though. Wait, I did also want to say that the kid, they're having the kid hide out in a bus.
Yeah.
And two mercenaries are walking down either side of the bridge, looking behind cars. They're going to shoot whoever they see. And the kid sneaks out of the bus and runs forward in the direction they're walking. And I'm just like, go under the bus and go behind the bus, and then you'll be behind them, and you could actually just like go wherever you want. And I was so fixated on that.
I didn't even notice that. Oh, shoot, we have a final minute. Okay.
Yeah.
So screw it. Major spoilers. All right. So they save the kid. Chris Hemsworth gets shot in the neck by the kid he slapped around in the middle of the movie. Other dude gets sniped, and then his handler, the female handler, comes. She shoots a helicopter with a rocket launcher and then snipes the dude that sniped the handler. She's a badass. I would watch a spinoff with just her because she is awesome. And then Chris Hemsworth is bleeding out and he falls off the bridge. We see 8 months later, spoiler, the kid's living his life. The handler goes and shoots the drug lord in the bathroom in the most badass, just like fancy dress I've ever seen in my life. And there's a detail as she's walking off that she drags the blood a little bit with her dress, which I thought was so dope. Then the kid's swimming and he's on the bottom of the pool like Chris Hemsworth, and he senses something and he comes up and there's an out of focus person that looks like Chris Hemsworth. What do you guys think? Do you think that's him?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be?
If that's not him, it can only be him.
I mean, you can make the argument that it's another person who's there to kidnap him. You can make that argument, but I think I choose to have a positive attitude towards
But
this.
do you think he's really there, or the kid is imagining him there?
That's a good question. I think he's.
It's left up to be ambiguous, and I love the fact that they did it that way because it makes it not cheesy. That could have been a sentimental ending if the kid comes up and he sees him, and then Chris Hemsworth is there and he like smiles and goes like, "Hey kid, I'm alive. Isn't it great?" And the kid's like, "Thanks, I knew you'd watch out for me." That would have been terrible. But the fact that it's just this subtle moment where the kid comes up and there's an out of focus Tyler Rake, aka Thor, I'm like, oh, and that's the reaction you want. And I feel like 100% it's meant to be him really there, not imaginary.
It's definitely meant to be him so that they can do an extraction too.
Please do it, and please have him team up with the handler for the entire movie. Jesse, what do you rate this on a scale of guilty but terrible, guilty pleasure, or guilty but awesome?
This movie is guilty but awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I don't... Wait, keep going. Say.
I was just going to say, all I was going to say is it almost goes without saying. Like the way we've described it, the action in it, it's awesome. You should watch this movie.
I guess I'm going to say guilty but awesome just because that's our show rating, but I don't feel guilty at all. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, what about you, buddy?
It's beyond. I mean, it's so awesome, this movie.
So good.
I really do put this up there with a Taken. I think this is John Wick quality good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's super creative, super inventive. This is the action movie to beat this year.
Yep, I agree. That's what I tweeted.
Ryan, better or worse than Pixels? What do you say?
Damn it.
Better.
Tell us what you thought at home about Extraction. How does it match up to the John Wicks of the world, to that kind of new breed of stuntman directed films that have fluid action sequences and more oneers, like the one take films out there? Also, let us know what else you'd like us to cover. We got a whole lot of time on our hands, so tell us what you want to see next week.